Hello, welcome to another episode of Inside the Huddle. Today is episode 57. It is Sunday, March 30th. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. For those joining us on YouTube, make sure to please like and subscribe. Appreciate the support, as always. Another week, pretty busy week around the NFL. Last episode here in March, and then next week, officially draft month, just a little under a month away. So exciting times around the NFL draft as that continues to get closer. A couple free agent signings this week as you kind of get, some of these signings sprinkled in before the draft as teams continue to fill out their rosters here in the offseason. We'll discuss them all. DiMari, how's it going, man?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I think you said it perfectly. It was a pretty busy week. We got some good news for us to talk about today. We are 24 hours away from officially being, 24, 48, whatever, wherever we're at, from being kind of officially draft season. So Probably get some more pro day news if all the pro days aren't done. And then we kind of start to see teams kind of really level down who they might end up taking for those that are kind of sure what direction they might go in. But other than that, we said this quite a few times. I'm actually kind of surprised with all the news that we have been getting. Is giving us something to talk about. So let's start with what we got.
Yeah, definitely. So this week was, two big, or one big, I guess the other one sort of big signing as the Giants back-to-back weeks here pick up a quarterback. So we'll discuss that. But we'll start with the most recent news, and that is Stefon Diggs. He goes to New England Patriots, so returns to the AFC East after 1 year in Houston in the AFC South. Tore his ACL, of course, last season. We'll look to have a healthy 2025 campaign. It is a 3-year deal, $69 million, $26 million in guaranteed. I personally, and I understand there's kind of a lot of concerns or some concerns around Diggs, right? He'll be 32 in November, coming off the torn ACL. You kind of have questions about where, at this point in his career, what type of player can he be this year and moving forward. But I think it's a solid move for the Patriots because they desperately need wide receiver help. And you go out and pick up a good, reliable veteran option who, even though last year he only played in 8 games, this is a guy that is only 1 year removed, really, from a 100-plus reception season, 1,100 yards in Buffalo, where he had 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons in Buffalo and then 2 more in Minnesota, had 6 straight 1,000-yard seasons. Last year gets hurt. This is a guy, to me, that still has a lot of gas left in the tank. What was your just first thoughts on this move?
I liked it. I mean, you just said it. They've had nobody at receiver, and we saw reports of the Patriots trying to be aggressive, whether that was DK Metcalf. Diggs also was floating around for quite some time. They were supposed to trade for Ayuk last season. So, the Patriots have been wanting a receiver since last season. They finally went out and they got their guy. And, I know he is coming off that ACL tear, even though it is reported like he could be ready for week 1. But I think it's exactly what Drake May needs. I mean, can't really say it for Josh Allen, but Stefon Diggs can help elevate quarterback play. Sometimes put the ball in his hand and let Stefon Diggs be Stefon Diggs. So I think Drake May, who is going into year 2, didn't really have any options. If I'm being honest, I don't think I can name a receiver on that roster right now. So you throw Stefon Diggs in there, that helps opens up the offense, get some other guys involved. Maybe they elevate. Drake May elevates. So I like the move for the Patriots. And I mean, personally for Diggs, 31 going on 32 in November, we were kind of unsure what direction he might go in. Is he looking for a payday? Is he looking for somewhere where he might be able to win? Right now, I mean, it's looking like it was a payday type of move. But once again, I'm also not mad at it. This is somewhere where he can go and continue to thrive. Over in Houston, he did have success and was on pace for another 1,000-yard season. That would have been 7 straight. But I think for Diggs, I mean, you kind of want to go somewhere to continue to prove your worth. And I like the move for him. So hopefully he can get back healthy. That he is one of my favorite players to watch ever since college, his time at Maryland. So hopefully he can get his revenge on Buffalo twice a year for your sake. But I really do like this move for the Patriots, and hopefully they continue to add to that offense.
Yeah, I would like him play well against Buffalo and then 2 rough games against the Jets would be ideal. Sauce lock them up hopefully 2 times this year, but have a field day against the Bills. I'm all here for that. 1-0 actually against the Bills since with 1 game against Houston.
That is true.
And you make a good point just on like last season. I think a lot of people look at Diggs' year last year and see, 96 yards, 3 touchdowns, 47 receptions, and they're like, not a great year. But you got to take into account he only played 8 games, and he was on pace for 1,000 yards. And you look at how he was playing in those games, he was playing well. Like he had 10 receptions, 94 yards against Minnesota, 6 for 33, but 2 touchdowns to start the year, 6 for 82, 6 for 77, 5 for 81, 5 for 69. Like he was putting up good weeks. And that was also on a team that had Tank Dell and Nico Collins prior to, of course, the Tank Dell injury. But there was, a lot of ball there was a lot of ball to go around. Like CJ Stroud had to spread the ball around. You also remember too, Stroud kind of started the year last year a little slow. Like the Texans offense as a whole was a little lackadaisical, and really all year they weren't like consistently great as much as they were a year prior. In Stroud's rookie year, they sort of turned it on, got to the playoffs and obviously, win the wild card round, and then almost, gave the Chiefs a little bit of a run for their money. But either way, like it's, he was playing well. And I think now you look at it as well, when you go to New England, he is the legitimate number 1 option. He's going to get a ton of targets. He should get a ton of targets. And I know it ended in Buffalo sort of murky with the relationship between him and Allen, but nobody can dispute he did help Allen. Allen also helped him. They elevated each other. It got to a point, right? 4 years, 4 tough playoff losses in a row after winning the division each of those seasons. But Diggs took the Bills from that 2019 team that lost to the Texans in the wild card round. He took that team and made them into an AFC title, divisional round, perennial, like year in and year out AFC's title team. Like he was that next big piece for them. Didn't end up working out in the long run, but let's be honest, the Bills could have Jerry Rice and whatever receiver you want. They'll probably still find a way to lose to Kansas City in the title game, or the Bengals or whoever it might be. Pick a team. Bills are not going to, it feels like they're just never going to get to a Super Bowl. Either way, he elevated that team. I mean, 1,500 yards, 1,200 yards, 1,400 yards, 1,100 yards. And you hope he can do the same here in New England. It's also just the need for New England. Like they desperately needed receiver help. And when you looked at the rest of the receiver market, Diggs was the top option. I'd take Diggs over Amari Cooper right now. I'd take Diggs over Keenan Allen. Any of those guys, I'm taking Diggs because I still think Diggs has a lot left. I think, the injury's tough, and you always have questions how he's going to bounce back. But there's so many people looking at Diggs and acting like this guy hasn't had a good year in like 5 years. Like, come on now. I know it ended in Buffalo rough, but this guy's still a very good receiver. It's a big, good move for New England. I think a lot of people are kind of down on it.
Yeah, I don't know why people, and we know we've said this about Cooper Kupp and Deebo Samuel as well. It's a little different, a little bit the same, but everyone sees these receivers have like one down year and they aren't cracking 1,500 yards and double-digit touchdowns, and instantly they're like Boston Celtics Shaq. Like sometimes the system doesn't fit, and whatever. But alongside, kind of just to piggyback too, alongside with Houston kind of starting slow and CJ Stroud starting slow, and obviously all the weapons over there, you got to also remember, for a point in time, like Houston was running the ball very well. So they didn't really have to rely on their receivers. Thank you, Joe Mixon, by the way, for your fantasy performances. But Mixon was carrying the ball, 26 to 30 times a game. And Stroud didn't have to drop back and throw for 400 or 500 yards, for a good portion of that season. So, like you said, you look at the numbers, or you just look at the overall stats, you're like, okay, 497 and 3 touchdowns. Like, that's not a good year. What did he do? That was through 8 games. That also was while they were relying heavily on Joe Mixon with an offense completely loaded with talent. So you said it, he's going to get a bunch of targets over there with New England. Like, he is the guy. I think he's going to have a great season. I think 1,200, maybe 1,300 yards should not be a problem for Stefon Diggs. And I mean, yes, again, 31 going on 32. We didn't see any ounce of like decrease out of him this past season. It's just that offense was not centered around him for the first time in his entire career, if you think about it.
Yeah.
So now that the offense is back centered around him, I think he definitely has a great year, and I think he does have a lot in the tank as well.
Yeah. And this is big for Drake May, of course, as well. And you look at the way New England's done things, right? They came into this offseason with a lot of cap space. I think the top actually in football, and they've spent it pretty in many areas. I mean, you pick up Diggs. You obviously also signed Carlton Davis. Robert Spillane, I like that pickup defensively. He's had a couple good years in Vegas, has really turned into one of the more underrated linebackers in football. And, you also add Milton Williams as well. Obviously, a key cog to that Philly defense, that just won a Super Bowl. So I like what they've done so far in free agency plus the draft. Right? You have the 4th overall pick, and you have a coach in Mike Vrabel that I think a lot of people can have faith in. As much as it pains me to say, I think New England just overall, plus this move, they've added some really good veteran pieces. And I don't think either you get a lot of times, I'm a Jets fan, I've experienced this firsthand. Like you'll get a lot of times where teams, when they have a ton of cap space, they'll just spend just not wise. Like I think the moves, right? Going out and getting Le'Veon Bell, as much as it seemed great in the moment, he didn't play a whole year. He held out. Like he didn't get along with Gaze. It was a dumpster fire from the start. Right. We've seen so many teams kind of just go out and just like are drunken sailors and spend crazy amounts for no real reason. I think New England's done a good job of filling out needs, not spending crazy, but filling out necessary needs, picking up good pieces, plus the draft. I will say this, with the Diggs pickup, the possibility of McMillan and Diggs, I think gets a lot more intriguing if you're a Patriots fan. Right?
Yeah, I'm going to agree.
You could go.
Oh, I'm just thinking because you look at the quarterback side of it, and you're just like, okay, does Drake May have a sophomore slump, and that way the offense doesn't look as good. But I think Drake May takes a complete another step this year. So again, back to kind of what I just said, Diggs is the type of guy to help elevate. It's not going to be the Stefon Diggs show. So some other guys are going to get a chance to kind of further showcase, what they were drafted for. So, I mean, not going to say one of the better duos in football, but they have the potential to be very lethal this year. I do agree with you on that.
Yeah. Yeah. They could go a couple different spots. McMillan, you can go Hunter. I mean, they don't necessarily need him. I mean, they signed Harold Landry, but like if Abdul Carter's sitting there at 4, do you take arguably the best player in the draft? They could, a couple different areas they could go in, but this was a good move. They've done a lot of good things. How many wins? Like, where does New England, are they still, when you look at this roster now, where do you think they stand in the division?
They're still last.
Last.
They are still last, but this pains me to say this. I'm so sorry, but I think they're a lot closer to you guys than they are Miami and Buffalo, of course.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Jets have a ton of work to do in the draft. They've got to find at least 3 starters in the first 2 days. They're getting better. I'll be honest. New England, I think, has potential. If May takes that big leap, they have potential to surprise a lot of people, I think. And it pains me to say that, but I think they made a lot of good moves. Draft still coming up. They still need a little bit more receiver help, I still think, outside of Diggs. Diggs is that number 1 now, but even a guy in day 2 or day 3, or you hope that like one of these other guys I don't know what you're going to get at Jalen Polk at this point. His year 1 was so bad, or is he even maybe better coaching? Who knows? But he was such a non-factor. It's worrisome that you feel like he's just kind of fall off. And Demario Douglas is solid, but he's probably more of a number 3 than a number 2.
Yeah, it's. I mean, Diggs, Douglas, Polk,
Booty,
Javon Baker. It's a bunch of guys that kind of really didn't do too much. So
yeah, they signed Mac Hollins, but I have concerns that he's nothing without Josh Allen. Like you look at his career numbers, and last year, to be honest, like wasn't even his best season statistically, but I don't know. I mean, he was honestly a lot better when you watch him than the numbers tell you, but I don't know. I think he was last year like a number 2, number 3. He's realistically probably going to resort back to like a number 4.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what he's been. So we'll see. But good move for the Patriots. Diggs back to the AFC East, and Diggs facing Allen twice a year now in Buffalo. So let's move on here. Another signing, quarterback, back-to-back weeks. Giants going to sign. Maybe the Giants are going to pick one of us up. If you don't see one of us on the show next week, Giants signed us 2 to add to the quarterback room. At this point, why not? They're signing everybody. And I'll just say this. And I have to be honest, I like the Russ move. I do. But that quarterback room, the difference between Russ and Jameis, it's just the things I would do to be a fly on the wall in that quarterback room this year. You have Jameis, who is just your goofball, and in Russ, who is this guy that gives off this like very serious personality, kind of cringy at times too, right? Mr. Unlimited, Danger Witch, like just, and then you have Tommy Cutlets probably sitting in like the corner of the room, just being like, I'm a practice squad guy. I don't know. And then you add, let's say you add Shador to that room. I mean, it's crazy, but Russ is a Giant. It's a 1-year deal, $21 million, 10.5 guaranteed. He returns, or not returns, sort of returns to MetLife, right? Won Super Bowl 48. Now that's his home building. Feels like this was happening for a while. Like last year, we heard possibility of Russ going to the Giants. This year, it's been, of course, even more so. It always seems like he's wanted to go to the Giants recently, like wanted to play in New York. He gets that opportunity now. I think he'll start over Jameis. What are your thoughts on this move? Plus, what's going to happen in that quarterback room? Because it's going to be something else.
It's so interesting after they signed Jameis. We're kind of like, there's no way they go get Russ, right? Like that just can't happen. And now you have it. But I honestly don't know. I mean, and I know I'm probably going to tie in two topics here at the same time. But if your plan was to get Shador, why would you sign Russ? You or Jameis, whichever one. You aren't drafting somebody with, within the top 3 for them to sit and be a third string quarterback. Jameis is not going to be your third string quarterback. So I really don't understand what they were thinking. This kind of seems like they're going to go best player on the board at the time. So maybe that is a Travis Hunter, kind of how the dominoes fall. I didn't get it. I'm not mad at the move. Like, I do like it for the Giants with Malik Neighbors. Again, I think it would benefit him to have a quarterback that has Super Bowl experience, and really kind of how we were just saying with Stefon Diggs. We like somebody to help elevate, and Russ can obviously do that for Neighbors. I'm going to say Calvin Austin. I can't even say George Pickens. We've seen Calvin Austin have a great year. So Russ can elevate anyone. And, I think he still has a decent amount as well. He's not as washed as, everyone makes it seem.
Yeah.
But if you're the Giants, I mean, like you said, you got DeVito, you got Jameis, you got Russ. What is your actual plan for that quarterback room? Who's going to be the starter? Do you go get Shador? Is DeVito going to be a practice squad guy? Do you trade Jameis? Like, it's kind of so confusing on what the Giants are going to do, because we were so kind of stern on the point, like, hey, Shador Sanders is probably going to be playing at MetLife next year, and that's not the case. So I'm really not sure, but I mean, I know we said it, I think, last episode or episode before that. You look at that division and you look at the quarterback play, you definitely need a quarterback that will help elevate, because those other 3 guys, I mean, you can probably argue outside of the AFC North, probably the best group of QB play in the NFL is that NFC East. So, Russ, man, you got to bring it. That's basically all it is to it, because, that's a big market. You being a Jets fan, you kind of know how it goes in New York, but Russ, you got to bring it.
Yeah, let Russ cook. And I think that's sort of the mindset. And I do think Russ will start. Like, Russ is a better quarterback than Winston. Yeah. Winston he's going to take more chances. He's going to take more risks. He might have more of those highlight plays. Like Russ isn't going to have those highlight plays. He does throw a very good deep ball, basically punts it. That's how high it goes. Which again, this does work well for Neighbors. Like Neighbors, those one-on-one deep balls, going to be good opportunities. Whether Winston plays, he's going to take chances deep. So there is that clear plan for the Giants here. They want more explosive plays. They want to stretch the field a bit. And both of these moves, I think, are to benefit this receiving core as well, a little bit more from where they were a year ago. And Russ is like, look, Russ isn't what he once was. His fall from where he was happened pretty quick, right? He had that 40 touchdown season in the COVID year with Seattle. And in the next year, he went from like 40 touchdowns to like 25. And he goes to Denver. Of course, that didn't work out. I think that was more of a product of Nathaniel Hackett, who shouldn't even be an offensive coordinator in the NFL, was a head coach, which is beyond pathetic. He had Peyton, which he played pretty well under. And then last year, of course, got to the playoffs. Like, he's okay. He is what he is. He's going to take sacks. He's going to hold on to the football at times too long. He is what he is. I think he can go out there this year and what? Let's say he plays every regular season game. Is it crazy to say he could throw like 20 touchdowns and 9 picks or something like that? 21 maybe. He had 26 and 8 in 15 games with Denver in 2023 rather, which was the second of his 2 seasons there. Maybe 17, 18 maybe. I mean, he threw 16 last year in 11 games.
I think he can get to 20, 22, 25. Yeah. I don't think he's that washed as people make it seem. We also I think
I think he'll go. He's not. I don't think you're going to get 2022 Russ where he threw 16 and 11. I think he can do better than that. He's always been throughout his career. Not that he throws a ton of picks, but he's never been like a 5 interception guy. He's always been an 8 to like 10 interceptions. He's had multiple double-digit interceptions in his career. So I could totally see him going out and throwing like 21 touchdowns and 9 picks, 10 picks, maybe a little less, like 8 picks, whatever. But that's who he is.
I was about to bash Pittsburgh again. I chose not to, but I don't think he's that washed. If he threw for what he threw in Pittsburgh, we obviously both know why. That offense hasn't really seen life since Bob Cousy was still playing for the Celtics. So, you can't really blame Russ for the lack of production, I guess you can say, in that system. So I think new system, very young, hungry guy in Neighbors, got a solid guy in Tyrone Tracy running the ball. I mean, who's also a very good pass catcher out of the backfield along with Singletary. I think they could definitely, or he could definitely throw for between 22 and 25, but like not a 5-6 interception type of guy. He's going to give you that 9, 10, 11. And that's just Russ is Russ, like you said.
Yeah, and especially at this point in his career, you're not going to get much more than that. Better than Winston, a little bit smarter than Winston, much less risks than Winston. So I think he'll start, and he even said he expects to start. I don't know. The draft thing now is very confusing. I can kind of see both sides of the aisle. Like I could see the side of still want to draft Shedeur, and that is right, have him sit and not have to worry about playing. Like, look, you're going to come in, you're going to sit, you're going to hold a clipboard for year 1, and then year 2, you're out there. And I also understand the side of the aisle of this regime's clearly picking up pieces. Like Russ is not a win now move, but they're not going to put all their eggs in a Shedeur basket when they need to win. That's the complicated situation that the Giants are in. Is Brian Dable and Joe Schoen are both on the hot seat. And if they win 5 games this year with Shedeur, they're not coming back. They have a higher chance of coming back if they win 8, 9 games and look competitive with Russ than banking on Shedeur to go out there and have like not a Jaden Daniels rookie year, but just an average season. There's a risk that you take for just throwing Shedeur in the fire in this market, all that stuff. Shedeur himself, no matter where he goes, he can go to the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Tennessee Titans, which pick up no headlines. And there's going to be a ton of headlines because it's Shedeur, Sanders, the background, his dad, all that stuff. So I understand the side of just take best player available. clearly this coaching staff is not going to throw a rookie out there. Now, what's the point in having Shedeur come in and then just sit and then play him next year? And then you run the risk of a new regime being stuck with Shedeur next season. Like, it doesn't totally add up. Now, that's not what this regime's thinking, but just thinking ahead, that could be part of it. And then next year you go out and you maybe get a Manning, which talk about headlines. Arch Manning is a New York Giant. It would be unbelievable, which I'm sure a lot of Giants fans would want. But yeah, it's a complicated situation, very complicated. Adding Russ to it adds another layer. Like the two veterans just doesn't, I don't know. Like, I feel like, you know, it's funny because when they signed Winston, there were still reports coming out that they could sign another veteran, which always kind of seems strange. And then here they go, they sign Russ. There's still reports coming out saying they could draft a guy. So do they still go Shedeur? If not, do you maybe go after Dart or somebody like that in the second round if Dart doesn't go in round one, and then have a guy sit as like a developmental guy? Who knows? At this point, you're probably better off drafting best player available and then waiting on a quarterback next year. Because you also, again, this regime too, I think, would rather draft a guy that can help them now because they can't look towards the future. They're in that tough spot where they win 5 games, 6 games, they're out. They got to find a way to look good, be competitive, win 8, 9 games. I think anything less than 8, 9 wins this year, this regime's out.
Yeah. They have to start fresh.
Yeah, you could even make the case if they just finish under 500, they're out, which would mean they would have to go from a 3-win team to a 9-win team behind Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, which is asking a lot. Russ isn't bad, but let's not forget where this Giants team was last year. I mean, they were horrible. And they've done some good things in free agency. You know, they picked up Javon Holland, which I liked. Paulson Adebo was another one. Nice, solid cornerback addition. They've done some good things, especially defensively. But this was a 3-win team. Those are not going to be moves that are going to turn this team into 10, 11 wins.
And that defense has never been the defense has never been the problem. The defense is always not necessarily top 10, but middle of the pack, good enough to win you some ball games. You know, they're not out there giving up 40, but the offense sucks. The offense has sucked for so long. I can't remember the last time that offense was actually good and worth watching. But for what they need offensively, you got 2 quarterbacks on the roster, both with a bunch of experience. I think you go best player at the time. So if you can pair Travis Hunter with Neighbors, you got it, or a McMillan. Yeah. I don't know where they might reach. Maybe a Luther Burden. I don't know where they might go, but they need to figure out that offense, and that's kind of the main thing. Because I am right with you. I think with Russ or the whole situation, they are kind of win now, not look towards the future too much. And I mean, if Russ somehow goes out there and wins 9, 10 games, hopefully it's not like a Sam Darnold situation where he just completely elevates this team, kind of turns the tables, and is like, hey, thanks for contributing. Like, let's ship you off somewhere. I think if Russ plays great, doesn't turn the ball over, they sign him back and maybe a 2-3 year deal and try to go from there and see what Russ can continue to build. And a Dart or somebody sits behind those other 2 and kind of develop, or they look towards quarterback for next year. But if I'm the Giants right now, I mean, I think it feels kind of similar to Michael Penix last year with Kirk Cousins, where you're like, if you're drafting Shedeur, are you wasting a draft pick? Even though Penix did end up starting, and we kind of know how that went down. But for a guy to be, you can say, the 3rd string quarterback, what's the point of drafting Shedeur to hold a clipboard and a headset? Like, that's a waste of time. You might as well go out, pair somebody with some playmakers, and see what you can do.
Yeah, I agree. It's that risk, like, of you're kind of in that mode right now where you have to win in order to keep your job. Drafting Shedeur just to sit there for a year doesn't make a ton of sense, and then you might not even get the chance to really see him play under this regime under Dable. But Dable's thought process could be too, like, let's be competitive this year, maybe we trust the guys, right? They brought back their Darius Slayton. Wan'Dale Robinson's okay. Neighbors, of course, is really solid. Tyrone Tracy had a good year last year, which I always say I actually I don't feel bad for Tyrone Tracy, but no matter what that guy did last year, the talk was, oh,
Yeah.
Saquon this, Saquon that. Like Tracy could have went out last year and ran for 1,500 yards and took home rookie of the year, and people would still be talking about, oh, well, you let up Saquon, you gave up Saquon. Like Tyrone Tracy had a good year last year, and I think he could be a productive player for them. But yeah, like that could be the thought process too. If Dable is like win this year, let me get a year just working with Shedeur one-on-one. He doesn't have to worry about playing. And then next year, when you have more of that job security, if they keep you, then you can, right? We've always talked about Dable, like is he a quarterback whisperer? Can he really elevate quarterbacks, right? He had success with Allen in Buffalo, but starting to get to the point where I think anybody can have success with Allen. Joe Brady definitely right now is having the most success because the turnovers aren't there, which has been a big issue of his. They've kind of been eliminated. Credit to Brady on that. Plus, they use the run game a lot more. So or do you just wait? What would be such a weird situation, though, is you draft Shedeur and this regime gets fired. And again, I know this regime's not focused on that, but I'm just saying from the outside, you put your next regime, then it would be such a weird spot, like 2026, you would then be in a situation where let's say you have the number one pick and you have Shedeur on your team. You draft Manning. What do you do with Shedeur then? Like I've started to think about that. That would be such a strange situation. If they go 3 wins, let's say this year, and they have Shedeur on the roster, he doesn't play a single snap. Although at that point, you might as well throw him out there. But okay, let's say he plays 2 games and he looks decent. And you have the number one pick and Manning's there. What do you do? Like, what's the next regime do? What do you do with Shedeur? Do you trade him? I mean, you could probably and then take Manning. Like, that'd be so weird.
You could trade
If you
him,
don't like Shedeur,
and
you know?
yeah, I mean, a lot of teams would also buy in and probably be willing to acquire him no matter the asking price. But
Yeah.
for again, what is the point of drafting the guy this year that high just for him to enjoy some New York pizza for a few
For a
months
year.
and then
Yeah.
never play a snap, and then you go get a Manning? Like, don't get me wrong, Archie's great, but you didn't even give the guy a chance.
Yeah.
How does it go from okay, Shador's the future for quite some time, at least we thought, all throughout this college season, to now you go with Russ. Does his 1 year, he's gone. Now you go Manning. It's just like you are going backwards. Are you really trying to find a franchise guy? So, I mean, if they draft Shador has to be the answer next year if he doesn't play this year. I mean, you
Yeah.
give Russ his trial run. Hopefully he can play and get his payday similar to Darnold. Let Russ go do what Russ does, and Shador is the guy. Other than that, I think
Yeah.
any other plan, including Shador on the roster, you just really wasted a draft pick or wasted a year. So I don't know what they're going to do, but you
Yeah.
got to go best player.
And the Giants put themselves in a position too where they signed 2 quarterbacks that you can easily bench this year. Like Rodgers, it would have been a lot harder to bench Rodgers halfway through the year, right? There would have been a lot of noise, a lot of chaos around that decision. You can bench Russ, bench Winston, and it'll be on the bottom of the New York Post paper the next morning. Like it's not going to catch top headlines. Rodgers would. I also don't know if Rodgers that would sit well for him getting benched. Like I don't know if he'd want that. Not that any quarterback wants it, but Rodgers just different from like type of player he is. So maybe the Giants do find themselves in a situation. They did this with Kurt Warner and Eli a while back, where Russ, Winston, you play them. Let's say the team is even if the team's playing well, you then bench him, and then if you feel ready, Russ is out or Shedeur is out there, so you don't completely have him sit all year. It's a couple of different ways they could go about it. I guess just in general, like honest thoughts is just because we talked a lot about Shedeur. Like, what do you think Shedeur? Like, what do you like about? Do you like Shedeur as a prospect? I guess. I mean, is like is
Yes and
he
no.
worth the 3rd overall pick?
He's good. He is good. You put on the film, he is
Mhm.
very good. He throws a great ball. It's just the off the field stuff, especially with that
Yeah.
market. just instances like him bashing his offensive line with that
Yeah.
Nebraska game, and just you know
Plus,
the so much.
no, yeah, sorry to interrupt, but he's also I also question how he would take the benching, or not the benching, but sitting. Like Shadur
Yes,
kind of comes off as a guy that wants to step in and play, and everybody does want to play right away, of course. But I could see him being like, "Look, you took me third overall, and I'm the third quarterback on the roster. Like I should be out there playing, especially if the season starts rough and they're 0-3 or 1-4, and Russ is not playing well, and let's say Winston's out there and he's not playing well. He's like, does it get to a point where he's like, hey, like, get me out there? Like like
and
he's interesting.
I believe he is the type kind of say something about it. Rightfully so. Is just how you go about it. But again, kind of just back to his personality and some of the off field things, even some of the on field things, the Rolex flexing. Like there's just some of those things where you know, yes, you're good. You are a very good quarterback, but some of that arrogance you gotta tone it down because like you might have been that guy in high school. Yes, you were that guy at Jackson State, and you were that guy at Colorado. But guess what?
It's a different
There's a
game.
thousand guys. It's a different game. There's 1,000 guys better than you in the NFL. So you you're no Lamar Jackson. You're no Joe Burrow. So you kind of got to tone it down and be coachable, be teachable. And I don't think him sitting behind Russ is going to be and Jameis is going to be like, okay, let me learn from these type of guys and see what I can kind of take from them. It's going to be like, when am I going to play? And again, for viewers, it's not like I'm saying I know Shador personally and this and that,
Mhm.
but you kind of start to, you watch enough games and you see enough interviews and those type of things, you kind of can sense what type of guy someone is. And I mean, I'm not the only one that kind of has those concerns with the personality and those type of things. I think it's even been reported. So I think it's really just
Yep.
about how professional he can be, on that next level, especially if he is, sitting behind two other guys and if he can just wait his turn. But I can't take away from him what he is good at, and that is playing quarterback. But
Yeah.
um, he's just an interesting guy.
Yeah, and a lot of it could be smoke and mirrors, but you even heard coming out of the combine, and this happens a lot. Every year you get guys that draft stock, like people start to tank and then others will start to rise. But supposedly you hear some of the stuff, like some of the meetings he had, teams didn't love what they saw. Um, I mean, uh, is that like how true is that? Is that just reporters not necessarily making stuff up, but did he maybe have one meeting that a team didn't like and then they turned it into, oh, all these teams that he met with, they don't, there's a league wide view that they don't like Shadur. Like the Giants could have had a great meeting, and I don't know who else all met with him, but let's say like the Titans, maybe they had a bad meeting. Giants could have had a great meeting. Is the reports just making it seem a lot worse than it really is? Who knows? But you do make a point. Like it does seem like, yeah, the type of personality is the name, like if his name was Shadur Smith, would he be the second quarterback? He's good. And I like him, but he's not very athletic. He's smart. He plays the game clean. Like he doesn't good under pressure, especially in pressured moments. Um, throws a good ball. Doesn't have the greatest arm strength, but you know, who
Comes with
knows?
a lot of
I will say,
baggage. He can
yeah,
play ball, but it definitely comes with some baggage.
yeah, it does. Cam Ward is definitely, like a lot better, and I guess definitely higher ceiling. Like Shadur is a low risk, high reward, or a high risk, high reward rather.
Yeah.
Definitely, it could blow up very easily, but it could also work out really well. So we'll
So
see.
if the Browns go Carter with one, you're the Giants. You have Cam Ward. You have Fedor both on the board. Who are you taking?
Well, if Ward you mean if Ward falls to 3?
Yeah, three. I'm sorry. If both of them are on the board at three, so let's
Oh,
say
so
let's say
Tennessee, Cleveland don't go QB.
yeah, well, let's say Carter goes one or Hunter goes one. I don't know. Carter goes to
Yeah.
Cam and Shador both sitting there at 3.
You
You're the Giants. Who are you taking?
with Carter and Hunter off the board.
Yeah.
Definitely Ward.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're gonna go
I agree with
quarterback,
that.
I mean, I don't know where else you'd go at that point. Like, I wouldn't go after. I mean, they could go after McMillan, but I wouldn't do that. I think Ward. If Ward falls to 3, you 100% take him. Yeah,
I agree. I think
and
just
Shador
better
falls.
overall prospect. Again,
Yeah.
Shador's good, but Sanders being on the back of that jersey has a lot to do with it. But
Yeah.
you can't tell me just that Cam Ward's not the better prospect. But
He's 100%.
each his
He's a
own.
better prospect, and you can make the case that Ward might honestly beat out Russ and Winston. Like, if you draft Ward, I think there's a legitimate case to be made that he's going to start day one.
It's a possibility.
Shador probably needs more seasoning, seems like.
Yeah.
At least that's the way the league-wide kind of views him. But who knows? Only time will tell. But that's the Giants. Russ, Winston, Shador, maybe. Tommy DeVito. Can you think of a crazier quarterback room? It's tough.
Oh, I
Other
can't
than
think of
last year's Broncos QB room looked bad from the start. But
that's the one I was about to mention. That one was bad.
Stidham, Zach, and Bo Nix in training camp looked awful on paper. And it really wasn't. I mean, Bo Nix was obviously good, but Stidham and Zach did nothing. And now Zach's back in the AFC East. Back with Miami for the first time. All these Jets quarterbacks, man, they all go to Miami now. Mike White,
cycle.
Zach. You got Tim Boyle on the Titans. I'm not going to rant, but I do not know how that guy's still in the NFL. Don't know how that guy's in the NFL in the first place. Anyway, let's move on to another quarterback on the topic of the Giants quarterbacks. Former Giant Daniel Jones. Looks like we'll have quarterback competition here between Jones and Anthony Richardson. Their GM talked about some of the similarities in both of them, talked about both the quarterbacks, Chris Ballard. I'll tell you what, the Colts, as much as we talk about the Giants being in an interesting spot at quarterback, the Colts find themselves here in kind of a make or break season at quarterback in terms of I could easily see the Colts next year being one of those teams in on Manning, having a top pick if Richardson doesn't pan out this year. It feels like this is Richardson's last opportunity. Not that he's been in the league for like 3-4 years already. He got hurt in year one. Last year didn't look good. This is his last opportunity. Bring in Daniel Jones here. Seems like the two are going to compete. I'll also throw Shane Steichen out there as well. If they go win 6-7 games this year, is there a guarantee he's back next year? The Colts are under the radar. I don't want to say like in a bad spot, but they're in a make or break spot where they could look a lot different a year from now. You could have made the case that they should have fired Chris Ballard and completely restarted, but they didn't. And here we are. Another quarterback room. Daniel Jones, who is Daniel Jones, and Anthony Richardson, kind of two opposite quarterbacks. Shouldn't say too opposite in the fact that they're similar, I guess, in sort of their style of play, kind of, but like Jones does not have any drip. Richardson has some drip.
Yeah. Wow. I think they are in a bad spot. I think they're in a pretty bad spot because they are not. They have too much talent to only win 3 or 4 games, but they also aren't good enough to where they're going to win 10 or 11. And I hate to say it, but it all boils down to the quarterback play. And again, I'm a Florida fan. I watch Richardson in college every Saturday. And we've talked about this time and time again. I just don't understand the whole point. Yes, and this is not necessarily just about Richardson. This is a general statement. Okay, yes, the guy is sick. Like, it's great. He's 6'4", 225, 4'5", 40, can throw a great deep ball. Let's go draft him. But then again, he can't throw the out route, like a simple out route. He can't throw the simple corner. He's still making bad mistakes. And that's what the Colts got themselves into. Like, don't get me wrong. Obviously, he is very athletic. We all know Anthony Richardson's extremely athletic. But this is a guy that was struggling with the little things. And I mean, you look at that roster, and again, I just mentioned the talent. Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, who has actually been very solid since, he's gotten there. Obviously, we know what Jonathan Taylor brings. Alec Pierce has been, quite a success story when it comes to just like a deep ball guy, someone you can rely on in, clutch situations. They have the talent. They have the weapons. It's just the quarterback play is not good whatsoever. Yeah. And, this was my hot take when I said Daniel Jones probably be starting after the bye week. This looks like what the case is going to be. Because, I mean, in this case, with the GM kind of comparing their play styles, saying they're similar, that doesn't sound like hey, we brought this guy in here just for insurance, just in case. This sounds like hey, the two of you we don't know what direction we are in right now. So you guys are both so similar. It's whoever plays better in training camp. So at the end of the day, I do think it's going to be Richardson. Again, you drafted a guy so high. First year, the injury. Second year, he kind of was battling some injury too, but did make a comment in the season about him being tired, so he had to pull himself out of the game. So it's just like he's just kind of hurting himself in terms of like the franchise guy. I don't think they view him as the franchise guy. And I do think I read reports that the locker room was kind of split 50-50 on Richardson and kind of how they felt about him. So it kind of feels like you just said, this is a guy that is going on his last chance, which is crazy to say for someone they thought was the franchise guy, only the third year. But I mean, I guess I'll go even hotter of a take here. Yeah, next season, Anthony Richardson will not be in a Colts uniform. They're not going to be good enough to get Manning. Like, that's the thing. Again, they're not bad enough where they're only going to win 3 or 4. They're not good enough to win 9 or 10. So we're not talking about Arch Manning. So I don't know if they're going to learn Will Howard or somebody next season. Like, I don't know what the case is. Yeah, like, I don't know who it's going to be, but I just know Anthony Richardson will probably not be the starter next year.
Get ready to learn Garrett Nussmeier, buddy.
Yeah. If that's the case, I mean, I
will say this to the Colts. I will say this. Yeah, they're in a tough spot. You don't have much faith in either quarterbacks. Richardson, it's just so strange. Like, he looked so good in those first couple games in 2023, and it was just awful last year. The accuracy continues to be a problem. I really think Richardson was a guy that would have benefited. I don't want to say like he would be great, but I do wonder if Richardson was in a better spot, not with Indy, where he had a chance to like sit and learn, as opposed to be thrown in the fire right away. I think he could be a lot better. I think he's a guy that should have been, like, even just knowing how to protect your body. Like, those first couple of weeks, the injuries just got to him, and some of it was just not smart plays on his part. I say it all the time. Like, Jalen Milroe to me is that like kind of what Richardson was. Very athletic, can't, decision making sometimes off, not the most accurate thrower. Will make plays that make you go wow, and then he'll also have plays where it's like you're scratching your head. And when you have those situations, you want the guy to sit and try and iron those things out. It's disappointing to see what's happened to Richardson, because I think if he was in a better spot, but getting picked top 5, a lot of pressure. Colts are expecting him to be the answer right away. I also think the Colts too are in a spot where every single year was a different starting quarterback for like however many years it was. Like they had Rivers, then they had Brissett, obviously Luck until he retired. Who else? They've had so many different quarterbacks. It's crazy. It's like Matt Ryan for that year. Wentz. We mentioned Brissett. Like, I think part of the Colts too is, even if they didn't love him at the 4th overall pick, it was like, go out and we need a quarterback. We need to find our guy. No more of this picking up old washed players, especially coming off the Matt Ryan year where they fired Frank Wright and it was a disaster. We got to find our guy. It just hasn't worked. And Daniel Jones, I mean, I'm sorry, he's not any good. He's not any good. If Daniel Jones beats out Richardson, that's just a terrible look. Like, if I'm a Colts fan, that's the last thing you want to happen, is Daniel Jones win the job, because Daniel Jones is not your future guy. At least Richardson, he's only entering year 3. I highly doubt Jones going to beat out Richardson. And then I think if Daniel Jones beats out Richardson, that's more of a not really as much of a positive for Daniel Jones as it is a negative for Richardson.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I will say this though, like this is it, right? You have this quarterback competition happening. We'll see, who wins it. You kind of like you'll get your answer at the quarterback position this year, and then you address it in the draft. Like you blow it up maybe after this year. Is that the situation Indy finds himself in? Probably. Like you can't bring Shane Steichen back for a 4th year. And, if I had to guess, like you'd blow it up and just restart and draft the quarterback next year. And you make a point. It makes it more difficult because they have talent. They have a lot of talent. The quarterback is average right now, slightly below.
That's kind of also another part of the problem where it's like, do you blow it up? Because, you look at, was it 3 seasons ago or 2 seasons where they were almost a lock for a playoff team, and they were a drop 4th down away from making the playoffs. So it's like they're not that far removed from actually being good. But you also look at that division, and I know we say this very often as well, that division sucks. So, Houston obviously is going to win the 11, 12 games, whatever the case is. So, if you can get to 9 or 10, you're looking for are you probably can get into the playoffs, even though a lot tougher now, division teams are gotten better. But 9, 10, you can probably sneak into the playoffs at like a 7 or 6 seed, depending on how it shapes up. So it's just like a really very unfortunate spot. And this is going to be the one time where I kind of feel like it's not so much on the coaching, it's more on the quarterback. The quarterback play is awful. It has been awful. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you can fire a guy, whatever the case is. But the only thing the coach can do is coach. He can't elevate the game for the players. He can't throw the out route. He can't make the decisions for the quarterback. It all boils down to Anthony Richardson and just not being what he was supposed to be.
Yeah, I agree. I'll throw this out there. Quarterback position is right in a state of like flux. It's Richardson, Jones, whoever. If Dart is there at 15, I believe it is. If there was a team, they pick at 14. If there was a team to take Dart in the top 15, the Colts would make the most sense. Because you add him to the right, you add him to the quarterback, add him to that quarterback room. Is it crazy Jackson Dart could beat out both of them, and then maybe you stumble into your guy? Like for this regime, this could be like their last, take a shot on a guy and bring him in. And is it asking much for Dart to win the job? And who knows? Maybe you find your answer.
Well, I mean, not crazy, but also another thing to think of. I do think Dart can beat both of them out. I feel like what he's done in college was so overlooked, and I'm not too sure why that's the case. But what if they do draft Dart, and again, you kind of go in where you got a very short leash with Richardson, and Richardson doesn't cut it. He ends up getting benched, and now you go with Dart. And you trade Richardson at the trade deadline, somebody will take him. Still a young guy that you can develop. You ended up trading Richardson around that trade deadline time. See what you can get back. Because, I mean, every team can need a quarterback at a point in time. So, I feel either option is not crazy, but I have not actually thought into that much. But I do think Jackson Dart could step into there and win that competition. And if he does, I think Richardson's probably – out of him and Jones, is probably Richardson getting traded.
Yeah. I always say this. If the Jets can get a 6th round pick for Zach Wilson, because everybody always talks about, what's the value? Can you trade him? Are you going to be able to? And I agree with that point by you. Like, you can get something for Richardson. You could definitely get something for Richardson. If the Jets could have got a 6th for Zach Wilson, you can get value for Richardson. The dart idea is it does. I could see it happening. Like I don't know if I'd predict it, but it would make. And you throw him in, he's got talent around him. You know, like for too long, this Colts team, it feels like this talent's going to waste. If that makes sense. Like they have talent, there's not a quarterback good enough to really elevate it. They're in a weird spot. I think this is probably the most realistic path is everybody's out at the end of the year. They're looking for a quarterback next year. And it's a shame because there was high expectations. Like we both agreed that the Colts were kind of under the radar underdogs going into the year. They were a team to look for. Richardson takes that step and it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So see how it all plays out. Who that AFC South is so strange. It's the Texans and everybody else.
Yeah, I think we stand on the same kind of stance as far as the Jags in Tennessee. They're just there, I guess it feels like. So that's what I'm saying. 9 to 10 wins, like you can definitely stay competitive in that division and sneak into the playoffs. But I don't know. I know we talk about like the NFC South being bad football. No, the AFC South, some terrible football.
Yeah, it's bad, and maybe Cam Ward's in that division and gets it's exciting. But man, I mean, Jaguars don't give you much, and the Colts haven't given you much, and not a big reason to believe that they will. So we'll see how it all plays out. But Richardson, Daniel Jones will definitely have some training camp content on that. Training camp's getting closer. It's April, spring, getting through the off season, draft season. Any other thoughts?
Besides my quarterback looking healthy, dropping back, and kind of seeing some drills, I'm like, okay, I mean, it's looking pretty good
17-0.
16-1, 50 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, nothing crazy. But
yeah, those are like that's actually a down year.
Yeah, that's actually a year of him not playing in 7 games of the fourth quarter. So yeah, we'll see. But other than that, no, I mean again, draft is almost here, so more draft news and stuff come out, pro day stuff. Stick around and we'll get to it.
Yes, exciting time. Draft season's here. Looking forward to it. And yeah, I'm excited to see what these teams do. Jackson Dart to the Colts. Who knows? We'll see. But only a matter of time. And we will talk to you guys next week. As always, thanks for watching.